Hi everyone, this is UBZ. This screencast is basically about the join method. Well, when I was doing OCPJP, I found the concept of concurrency pretty terse and very difficult. So I thought to come up with the idea to share the key concepts behind concurrency and the key methods for the newbies or for the OCPJP aspirants so it is helpful for them. The topic about this screencast is the join method. So let's see first what the join method does. If you can see here, I've written two very key points about the join method. What the join method does. Basically, if you can see this part, join method blocks the current thread of execution. It makes sure that the other thread completes its stack and then the current thread can resume its execution. Point one. Second thing is the same concept which I am repeating here, that it makes sure the current thread is blocked. Now if we go back to the Java API doc itself and we see what is the join method basically. So you can see here ideally that in the API itself, join method is basically present in the three versions. Let's see. If you can see this part, that the thread API consists of three versions of the join method. One which does not take any arguments, the second one takes the milliseconds, and the third one takes the milliseconds and the nanoseconds as well. And it does throw the interrupted exception. So this is the basic concept behind the join method. Let's make a small example to understand and elaborate this concept more in a way of practical demonstration. Let's see. This is a very simple class which is a runnable basically. So let me make a runnable here. This is a runnable job. So inside the run method, what we would basically do is, let's take the name of the thread, for example. We have taken the current thread. Step 2 would be, let's try to make this thread sleep for at least 1 second. So what we can do is, we can say something like thread.sleep. Just remember that thread.sleep, the sleep method does throw the interrupted exception. So let me say here interrupted exception. And before we put this current thread to sleep, let's print out its name as well. So thread going to sleep is in this particular job we have done nothing, just took the current thread which is currently executing, printing its name here and making the thread to sleep for 1 second. And we are catching the interrupted exception here because when a thread wakes up or some other thread interrupts, it throws an interrupted exception. So let's incorporate it to understand the concept of the join method now. If we come here, this is simple driver program. So we could say something like One very important concept to understand here, or it's an additional tip for the OCP/JP aspirants, is, if you can see here, main method, it's a non-daemon thread. We will come back in other screencasts about the daemon threads and the non-daemon threads. So currently always remember that main itself is a thread and it's a non-daemon thread. Now let's make a runnable. We have now let's make two threads here. Thread 1, let's name it as T1. We know that the thread constructor can take a runnable. Same way, let's make thread 2. Very simple, right? Now let's start thread 1. Once thread 1 is started, it goes to the runnable state. Now we say thread 1 dot join. Very important concept here. We forced, or we started thread 1 dot start. Then we are saying thread 1 dot join. What this would do, that it would force the current thread, which is the main thread right now, to halt or block its execution until thread 1 completes its complete execution track, right? So this is what the join method guarantees, that the current thread will definitely be blocked, right? So let's move ahead. We say thread 2 dot start, and we say thread 2 dot join. Let's make this example a little more interesting now. What we would do is, let's make thread 3, thread 4. Let's name them as T3 and T4. Let's start thread 3. Let's start thread 4 as well. Alright. If you can see here, at this point, we have started thread 3 and thread 4, but we have not forced the current thread to join either thread 3 or thread 4. Now, let me run this example. If we try to observe its output here, right? If you can see here, this part, idly, if you can see here that first thread 1 got executed, then thread 2, thread 4, and thread 3. But till this point, T1 and T2, the current thread was forced to be blocked so that T1 and T2 can complete its execution, and then later on T4 and 3 can move on and complete its execution. Now here a very important concept arises, ideally, that yes, we force T1 and T2 basically to hold or block the current thread execution. What about thread 3 and thread 4? This is a little trickier part. Many OCP/JP people will think that maybe when this part is gone and thread 2 and thread 1 has completed its execution, it's possible that main thread completes this whole main method even before thread 3 and thread 4 becomes come from a runnable state to a running state. So the most important concept is here is, what would happen to T3, T4? Will they remain in the runnable state if main completes its execution? Well, then the answer is no. Always remember that if there are any non-daemon threads, JVM will never exit till all the non-daemon threads have completed its execution. So even if in this case main completes its execution, JVM will wait till thread 3 and thread 4 complete their execution as well, as these two are the non-daemon threads. If you go to the Java API doc itself, you can very clearly see here if you can go ahead and see this part. It basically tells when a JVM starts, there's usually a single non-daemon thread which basically invokes the main thread itself. So it will never exit till the exit operation takes place or all non-daemon threads have died. So this is how the join method works. This is a concept of daemon and non-daemon threads. We can see the other versions as well. If you can go ahead and see which takes a millisecond and the long milliseconds, and we will cover all these parts in the next lesson. Hopefully you guys have understood the concept of the join method and this screencast was useful. Please like if it was. Thank you so much.